loves, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a question that I got from one of my Patreon members. Danny asked a question that she wanted me to cover on specifically, she said, would you consider creating a video on how to heal from the loss of a pet, or how to and when to try to work with the spirit in relation to recently passed pet? So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get started, just to remind y'all, well, I have a couple of updates actually. So one, don't forget about next month's workshop. Is going to be on May 4th, and it's all about the energy healing basics. I'm really excited about that workshop. Definitely make sure you get your tickets. The link will be down below. And if you are a Patreon member on the High Priest or High Priestess level, you already know, you already automatically have tickets. So definitely make sure you check that out. If you cannot make it on that day, no worries, because my workshops are always replayable by link. So if you can't make it on that time, through the link, you can always revisit the workshop at any time that you want to. And that's also one of the perks of being a Patreon member or High Priest level, because you get access to all the workshops I've done in the past through the hashtag on the Patreon page. So definitely make sure to check that out. And a little bonus thing that I am doing just for the weekend, just for like tomorrow, because it's like eclipse season. If you use the code ECLIPSE, you get 30% off all of my services on my website, and it literally ends April 1st. So it's just like a weekend little thing situation, just because, you know, for anybody who's kind of like needing an outlet or needs some sort of, you know, help healing or working through certain things, especially through the eclipse season, and eclipse energy, because eclipse season lasts like 2.5 weeks per eclipse. So, you know, May is about to look real crazy. So if you need a reading, if you need help, if you need, you know, past life work, anything, astrology readings, all of the things, definitely make sure you check out the link below for my website, and you can book a reading through there. So let us get started with, I said that was my 2 updates. So when it comes to healing from a loss of a pet, this is something that, you know, believe it or not, it's going to be very similar to healing from a person dying as well. And depending on how you do death work in your practice, if you do practice death work, most of the time everybody practices death work. They just don't understand that what they're practicing is death work. And that's because of many things, just in the nature of what death work is, and how you end up, you know, moving and transitioning from thing to thing, how you shift and transmute from thing to thing. Even your manifestations that, you know, you are doing can be a process of release and death work. It's just that a lot of people don't see it that way. They just see it as, oh, I'm manifesting, I'm calling in, I'm doing all this stuff. But like, you're also shedding and you're letting go of things so you can make room for all of these other things. And that, my friends, is death work. So when it comes to healing from a loss of a pet, can be very, very painful, can feel like, you know, it can feel like our child, obviously. But there's also, I do have to point this out because this happens here and there. There are some certain times that certain pets are literally like past life connections as well. Now, one of the things that, you know, a lot of people don't talk about, because people love to talk about how soulmates are, you know, oh, you know, on a human being kind of level. Oh, this person's my soulmate in a romantic type of level. But y'all, you could have a lot of soulmates. Your parents could be your soulmates. Your pet could be one of your soulmates, or you can even have a karmic tie with one of your pets. So there are karmic connections to certain spirits that come into our lives, especially when it comes to animal spirits. Pets can be past life connections. They can be soul connections. They can, you know, they range. Okay. So it also, when it comes to healing from a loss of a pet, you have to take everything into account as far as what the connection was. If it was just, oh my God, this was my pet and I love my pet, and it was my pet was amazing, and I just loved my pet so much, and I just have this beautiful loving connection, like unconditional love connection with my pet in this lifetime, and that's just it, then it's not going to be a past life thing. But if you for sure know, and if you don't know for sure, you would just need a past life reading to confirm if your pet, you had any past lives attached to it. Pink, for example, was my daughter with Babe. Multiple times. We've had a bunch of lifetimes together, and Pink always ends up being our daughter or our son. It's always our daughter or our son. It's always like she always the child. And it's so funny because she's a big baby, even though she y'all, she's like 84 years old, and like she acts like a baby. But she's actually both me and Babe's soulmates in that way, because we've been in each other's lives karmically for a really long time. So yeah, so there's times where it's like you have that connection. And then there's times where it's like, no, it's just, you know, in this lifetime, I really needed this connection to this animal, and it came through, and it was very, very healing for me. Or it taught me a lot about love. It taught me a lot about a lot of things. And I love this pet. So 1000% understandable, but it's definitely important to look at what was the connection itself, and make sure you have some sort of clear mind, like clear, you know, viewpoint on what the connection was when it comes to pets. When it comes to pets, I will say more than humans, they tend to, sometimes they'll become spirit guides, in relation to the second question, which is how and when to try to work with the spirit in relation to the recently passed. Sometimes pets and animals tend to kind of stay in the spirit realm for a minute before they come back. Sometimes they come back right away. Sometimes, you know, a soul was kind of came back as a pet or as an animal for a reason. And then in a lifetime after that, they're doing something else. So you also have to take into account that that pet's soul needs to decide to become a spirit guide if you are to work with it after the fact, because not all pets will choose to do that. So that's another thing. Now, if you feel the presence of your pet after, you know, the pet has passed, but you still feel their presence in the home, that's a good sign that they're staying with you. Okay. Which is great if you're trying to connect with the animal in that way and have them as a spirit guide, within this lifetime. But if you feel like you can't energetically feel their presence anymore, after they have passed, they probably have chosen to go in a different direction and either, you know, come back at another time, or they're just in the spirit realm, you know, taking a minute before they come back for whatever reason. Because you have to understand, animals also have their own souls. So, with that being said, it's important to kind of, you know, not center ourselves in that animal's journey, in that animal's soul journey. It's important for them to, you know, have a moment to, you know, because it's their soul, you know, their experience, their journey, but they can decide to stay and just be a spirit guide if they want to. There are some animals that will channel certain spirits as well, and that will embody certain spirits in your life. Cats are a big one if you work with like feline energies. Dogs also can be very protective depending on, again, on what spirits you work with, because not all spirits are going to be, like not every single spirit or deity or god and goddess has an animal correspondence. So sometimes it won't be expressed that way. Sometimes it will. Like if you have a pet snake but you also have a snake spirit, that pet snake could, when they pass, it's a potential, could work with that specific deity or spirit or saint that you work with as an extension of their energy. I've seen that happen a lot of times. So it also depends on a couple of things. This topic, it seems like it's, you know, oh, it's this, it's that, and check, but it's a lot of technicalities, to be honest. This is why answering this question is not like super clear cut, because there's so many different possibilities that could happen depending on, you know, what's going on, you know, what's going on, what's needed, what's not needed, you know, and what the animal spirit actually needs from their own, on a soul level, from their own life. So it's very layered, y'all. It's not like one answer. I can't just give y'all like, oh, do this and that and easy breezy beautiful cover girl. It's not like that. the best that I can tell you is to make sure that you are, if you are feeling their presence, that's a good sign that they're behind. If they are working in conjunction with one of your spirits, you are going to want to get that confirmed. And you can ask that spirit, deity, whomever it is, to confirm that for you, to, you know, send you a sign that there are an extension of them in some way. If it's a past life connection, you want to like verify it in the Akashic records. You can also do, like, one of the things that I really like to do when it comes to animal spirits is pendulum work, because their energy is very, especially when it comes to cats. When it comes to cats, you guys, you already know, the second you start dangling something in the air, they're gonna attack it. So they're kind of very, very drawn to answering through pendulum work. Dogs as well. So you can actually confirm certain things through a pendulum if that is within your practice. But for the most part, let's say, okay, the spirit is in the home. Let's say, you know, you can feel the presence, right? And you are trying, first of all, you're trying to process their death. Now, when it comes to processing their death, if they are choosing to stay with you in spirit form, they're not dead. And that's really what you need to process. It's more you than them. They're not dead. They are just in spiritual form. Now, one of the things that personally, when Luna, my cat, died last year, she decided to become a spirit guide and be an extension of Bass. That was her choice, but she wanted to work spiritually for me. And one of the things that she showed me is how big she can one of the things that she showed me is how big she can get as far as protecting the home and the space and what I pray over specifically. And she specifically said, like, no, now I can range out a lot further to those who are trying to attack you, to those who are trying to break through your protections. I can actually go further and send the energy back. And so there's like limitations when you just have a cat in your home or a pet in your home. But when they're in the spirit realm, they can roam wherever. Okay. And so you also have to understand that aspect of it. Is just that, like, she's not dead. She's just in spirit form. The physical body is no longer able to, you know, function, but they're still there. They're still in spirit form. And Luna still be running around the house. Luna still be running around the house. So it's kind of like, it's one of those things that you yourself have to process death work. Okay. And understanding, detaching from the physical aspect of things and understanding the spiritual side. Just because something has, you know, transmuted from one shape to another doesn't mean that it's not one and the other. Okay. So you have to process that within yourself. You have to, you know, come to terms that you can't, you know, obviously you're going to miss your pet and obviously you're going to miss rubbing them and all this kind of stuff. We're human beings, y'all. Okay. But there is the side of it that if they are choosing to stay there with you, you feel their presence, you know, they're there. They're not dead. You have to accept that. Now, if they choose to kind of go on their own soul's journey and not stay with you, that's just going to be like regular healing. The same way that you would kind of mourn someone's passing is the same way that you would mourn a pet's passing, because they are a loved one, right? So it would be death work, but in a way that needs to be healing for you, as far as like doing letting go and release work, is what I recommend. Now, let's say the pet, you know, it passed, but they decided to stay and you wanted to try to connect. Now, if you still feel their presence in the house, if you still find like certain things or toys everywhere, or you find certain things that they used to do, or like the thing, you know, like you can sense that, and you feel their presence there, you can actively just call them forth to connect with them. So one of the ways that I personally like to do it, depending, again, it depends on the animal specifically, but generally speaking, you can literally just take a white candle. It could be a tea light. It could be, you know, just take a white candle. You could take a white candle, and you can sit on the floor. When it comes to animals, just sit on the floor. So sit on the floor with the white candle and just call their name over and pray to the candle. speaking to them specifically and say, hey, if you want to be, you know, one of my spirit guides, I will welcome you into my space, and feel free to protect me, feel free to keep me safe, feel free to, you know, especially, it depends on the animal and it's the specific properties and spiritual correspondences for the animal, because not every animal's spiritual correspondences are the same. So you have to keep that in mind as well. So for whatever it is that you want to work with them with, so let's say you had a pet snake that died and you still feel their presence and they're coming up in your dreams, they're coming up in different ways, which you can also ask them to come in your dreams as well. You can tell them like, hey, help me, especially because snakes are really great for transformation and death work, but as well as connecting to the element of water and stuff like that. So many different things. I feel like I should just start an animal like spiritual kind of breakdown series of just breaking down different animal correspondences so you guys can have a little bit better understanding how to work with them. And I'll probably do that later down the line. Y'all know I just be getting ideas out of nowhere, but you can take that candle, you light it for them and welcome them into your space. Like literally say, hey, this is your home too. Feel free to keep this home protected. Feel free to roam wherever you need to roam. Or if there's something to say specifically that you don't want them to touch, like if they were a menace when they were alive, like they would just like knock stuff down, just tell them not to do that. Like set that boundary of whatever boundary you need to set, but just light that candle for them. And if there's a specific, again, deity or spirit or being that you work with that has that animal correspondence, you can ask them to be an extension of them if that's what they want to do, and work on their behalf as well. So sometimes you can just call on your pet in association to that spirit and then, you know, work from there for whatever it is that you need to do. But yeah, you would just kind of hold space for them and you would just talk to them, and tell them your intentions, the things that you're working on, the things that you are concerned about, and also ask them as well to comfort you in your pain of losing them in a physical way. Okay. And what you will feel is a little bit more peace once you like light your candle, especially if you already feel their presence in the home. You'll feel a lot more peace with that. But again, just remember this, there's certain things that can make it go like, oh, your pet is completely not even there anymore and they just chose a different direction. Then you're just gonna have to mourn regularly. So there's different ways that the outcome could come to pass, but just keep in mind like the process. You should have a clear understanding of your connection with your animal, with your pet, so that way you already know where you stand with them. If you have a karmic connection with a pet, more often than not, and in the next lifetime, you'll meet them again, whether in pet form or not. It could be in human form as well. So just don't limit yourself, okay? But yeah, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you guys got, you know, what you needed from this video. I hope you learned something new. Definitely don't forget to check out the Patreon down below. Don't forget to subscribe. I will see you all in the next video. I love you guys so much.